Takes about 20 to 30 seconds before we really come on, but I like to check and make sure because we have had some issues. Hope you're having a nice day on this Thursday afternoon, late afternoon. Although if it's on the East Coast, we're in the evening. Here we go. I think we got it. Yep. Yep. I think that might be better right there. We'll see when it goes on there. Hello, Irene. Thanks for joining again today. I like seeing your little prayer hands come up. Okay, so I think we're ready. Hello, Valerie. Welcome to Los Angeles. You're not in Washington anymore. So this is our last time talking about Shemitah, or releasing or letting go. Hello, Barbara. Nice to see you. Or not see you, but you're there. We're talking about this week releasing the power or lack of power that we have in relationships. First week we talked a little bit about the earth. Last week we talked about our relationship to the material world. And this week it's really been about relationships and where you carry your power, where there's power over you, how relationships can affect us in different ways, but mostly about the kind of debt that we might feel we owe to someone that changes the way we act, or that we feel someone owes us, and that changes the way that we act towards that person. This is all about kind of really our perceptions of the relationships that we're in, and the way that we need to be in order to be in a certain relationship with another person. It's interesting that you notice if you meet with a lot of wedding couples, which I am lucky enough to do, that a lot of times, they have complementary skills or complementary personalities. One's very talkative, one isn't so talkative. One is very, I don't want to say neurotic, midakdek or midakdeket. They're very, like, everything has to be in its place. The other one's a little more, whatever happens, I'm just going to go along with that. And that you have these complementary sides. And I've often thought that the reason why you want to have that is because if there were two people that were exactly the same, you might drive each other crazy. So you need to have someone that's kind of not like you. And that is, I think, what we have in our friendships too, right? With every person that's a friend of ours, we have something different that we get from them and that we can give to them, or that they get from us. That seems natural. It's kind of what Martin Buber, the great 20th century philosopher, would describe that as I-it relationships, right? We get things from people and people get things from us. It's not negative. I-it relationships are most of the relationships that we have in our lives. But every once in a while there's this I-thou relationship, which is a completely different, separate meditation. But an I-thou relationship is where two people are really connecting in such a deep way that it has nothing to do with what anyone owes anyone. But our normal kind of regular relationships, there is much more of that dynamic, I think, of, oh, I defer to this person. Oh, I have power over this other person. This one I can push around. That one's going to push me around. You see this in every movie or every TV show, how people have power and how they abuse that power. We might not necessarily be abusing the power. I think what we're talking about here in these meditations and in mindfulness is to just be aware of the power dynamic. And today, we're asking, kind of two sides of questions on this, two sides of the same coin. This is Rabbi Mark Margulies, who is one of the teachers with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. We've been looking at what he wrote about this subject and the questions that he put out there that I think are excellent questions for us. And the first one is, to what extent do you hold a sense of power over others in your relationship? You know, we've been looking on both sides. Today is kind of like bringing it all together, right? The first time we looked on where we have power. Yesterday we looked at who has power over us. And today we're going to ask this question twice from both sides. So, to what extent do you hold a sense of power over others in your relationship? And two, what would it mean for you to remember that whatever power you hold is entrusted to you by God? We'll get to that in a minute. And then the second one is, to what extent do you feel disempowered by others in your relationships? What would it mean for you to experience Shemitah, this release, as you practice, as a practice of reclaiming your own power as a child of God? So first, this idea of it being entrusted to you by God. Established 2 weeks ago, this idea that we don't own the world. I pay a mortgage on this home. I don't own this land. People think I might own it, but I don't own it. It's owned by, and if you want to say owned by God, I like to also say owned by the universe. It is. This land is just land. We've put the value on it. Human beings and kind of our social construct has put the value on this land, that it's worth a certain amount of money. But the fact is, it's just here. It belongs to God. And the same is true of the power that all of us have. The same is true of everything. There's that wonderful teaching from the Ashrei prayer. Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo. Happy is the one who understands that kacha, everything, every moment, including this moment, everything, every experience belongs not to us, but in this case, kacha lo belongs to him, meaning God. Although I don't love the idea that we're calling God a person. Hello, Chuck and Lisa. Welcome. So the two questions are, where do you feel like you have power in a relationship? Where do you feel like you are disempowered in a relationship? And you're going to have to really be honest with yourself. The good news is this is for you. This isn't for a nosy neighbor. This isn't for your mom or your dad or your brother or sister or your best friends or your cousins. This is just for you to recognize, in what relationships do you feel like the other person's got the upper hand? And in what relationships do you feel like you've got the upper hand? We might think that if we have the upper hand, it's a better relationship. I think they both might be equally problematic, right? The idea is that both people should have power in the relationship. I think that's the best way to put it. No one should feel disempowered. No one should feel that their voice isn't as strong as the other person. And I think that's where we're going. We're going to find a place inside of ourselves. And this is, I guess, the spiritual work that we have to do. We have to find the place inside of ourselves that says, I'm worthy, you're worthy, and together we're both worthy. As opposed to I'm worthy, you maybe not so much. Or nothing, and you are worth a lot more. Neither of those seem real healthy. I'm worthy, you're worthy. We're both on that. And I am that way with everybody. That's the idea, that we treat everybody with respect and worth. So, what extent do you hold a sense of power over others in relationships? To what extent do you feel disempowered by others in relationships? And what would it mean for you to remember that whatever power you hold, it's not really yours. It just belongs to everything. It doesn't really belong to you. Or what would it mean for you to try to experience Shemitah as a practice of reclaiming your own power? Because you are also a child of God, like everybody. So, it's like we have the power. That power really isn't yours. We don't have any power. We have to reclaim our power. That belongs to God. So none of it's ours. We're just borrowing it, right? The power and the disempower. How do we keep our power even when we're feeling disempowered? And how do we keep our power and not let it ferment in such a way that it becomes everything and controls us in the end? I think that's what it means when you have power over another person. Okay, enough for me to stop talking. We're going to go quiet now. Thoughts are going to come up in your head. It's totally, not only as a natural, it's going to happen. It happens to every single person. Our challenge is to just bring the thought back. You don't have to judge yourself. You don't have to say you're bad at this. I've just told you what's going to happen already. Just bring yourself back in love and patience without judgment. Just do your breathing again, because that's what we're here to do for the next 20 minutes. Just breathe. Take ourselves out of the world of doing into the world of being, and just allow everything to be as it is for now, for this time that we're doing this breathing. So we're going to concentrate on our breath. Just a little reminder, if your mind takes you away, with love and kindness and compassion and no judgment, just bring yourself back to your breath. Notice the placement of your eyes. Placement of where your breath allows your body to rise and fall. Try to follow the entire breath to the end, where you leave from breathing out to breathing in again. As we enter into our last 5 minutes, we start preparing ourselves for Shabbat tomorrow. And we ask for the final of the priestly benedictions and translated through the mindfulness lens, and we say, may I feel joy, may I feel whole, may I feel joy, may I feel whole. May I feel joy, may I feel joy, may I feel whole. With each breath, offer yourself one or both of those. It could be loud, it could be to yourself, whisper in your mind. If you'd like to invite someone to be in your mind's eye in front of you, I'd like to offer them these feelings. May you feel joy. May you feel whole. May you feel joy. May you feel whole. Just stay a couple more breaths there. May you feel joy. May you feel whole. May you feel joy. Now just bring it back to yourself for the last several breaths. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. May I feel joy. And may I feel whole. Thank you so much for joining me today and this week. I hope that you found some stillness and peace. May you feel joy and may you feel whole. Have a wonderful Shabbat and a fantastic weekend. Take care.